everyone, welcome today. I've just popped on to show you a little tutorial that was requested by a lovely lady called Kim, who asked me if I could possibly do a tutorial on this to show her how I did these envelopes. I always like to acknowledge the person that I saw it on. I'm not sure who the first person to do a tutorial on this was, but I saw it on Gina's channel, which is Firefly Studio 67. She uses it a lot in her journals. I'll link a couple of ladies below who do lots of lovely envelope designs that you might find more ideas from. And this is a part of my crafting group who, because of the current situation, can no longer do our current get-togethers as we'd normally meet at least once a fortnight and have a craft session. And this particular tutorial was the one that I taught in our last group session. For the ladies that missed out, who come to our glorious garden studio, you can catch up here too. So what I might do is, if I get time once a week or once a fortnight or something, whenever I can squeeze it in, with hubby working at home it gets a bit difficult. If I can squeeze one in, we can do an online class for you guys as well, so that we can just keep going with our little tutorials and get on with our work that we were doing until such time as we're able to meet up again. So okay, today we're going to do this one, which is an envelope, and we've just used a normal envelope for this, and just realised I need some a ruler for my tearing, but I'll just grab the scissors for the time being. So you just use a normal envelope like this one here. It can be any old envelope because you're going to cover it, so it doesn't matter. But the design of this doesn't really matter, so as this one's sort of a rounded on the top and these ones are more triangle. All you need to actually do is to be able to fold it into the middle like so, and to cut these little pieces out of the top. So first of all we will do that little bit. We'll cut out this section here, and I really hope that I'm in shot here because I'm working on a strange angle and I've got no idea where that camera is filming at the moment. So I'm just hoping for the best. This is definitely seat of the pants crafting, as Wendy would call it. And under these lockdown situations that we have at the moment, crafting is a good way to keep your cool, keep calm and not get too stressed by all of the news that is constant and keeps coming up in our feed all the time. So you have a shape like that to work with. So that's your base, so that you can fold in your sides and your top over the top without any trouble. So that's what you're starting out with. So then you've got to decide what you want to use to cover it with. And I have this example, I've made it really different so that you can see the different panels, because if I used it all the same as I've done with some, you wouldn't really be able to see as well where they start and finish. So I've used 3 different panels of colour there, which you cut out on the inside of your envelope. So you'll just take your paper that you're going to use and tear it to match the sections that you are working on. Today I've got a lovely sheet from My Porch Prints Digis, and I've picked a few pages from her collection which I really love. Really pretty cheerful flowers, and one from her lovely bird collage, and these are beautiful, they're really pretty. And for the cards to go on the inside, I have chosen her public library cards with the pretty flowers on, and the beautiful butterfly collection, which make lovely little cards that tuck in inside quite well. So I'll just go and grab my metal ruler so we can start tearing those and making a start on that. Okay, so I use my metal ruler for the tearing, and I decide what I'm going to have for my centerpiece here, and this one with the beautiful birds on it is really gorgeous. But because it's pink too, you could go with that lovely rose, so we might go with that pretty rose to put in the middle. So I'll start by measuring the distance that I need for that section, and you can just eyeball it, or you can be very neat and tidy and put a little line, but you usually find when you're tearing it you don't need to be that accurate. And because I want that in the centre to give it the main point of focus. So another way of actually checking that it's even is to just fold your paper over, and you'll get a pretty sharp line down there that you can follow. And I don't even mind if some of the pink shows through, because it gives it a nice border. So you'll have that nice bright pink trim around it to show it off. And I always ink up the edges anyway. So you'll be working out where you want to cut down here. So I always allow a little bit. You can see roughly through there where that is. So I'm going to cut it so that I don't lose the top of my rose. I can see it peeking through there. So I might come down a bit so that the lettering is right on there. So that's where my envelope is going to reach to there. And then you've got a little bit up each side, so you don't want to forget that. So I will tear it off the bottom about here. So you've got that fairly straight, but it is collage, so it doesn't have to be perfect. So there you've got your piece to work with, and you need to know roughly where you're going to come down from the top. So again, I use my ruler, and because I've folded it there, I can see sort of roughly that that's the section. You can always go and trim that neatly with your scissors if you want a nice neat finish. So we'll come down, I'll do this side as well first so you can see where that is and that we're on the right sort of angle. So it's going to be roughly there and across there. So that gives you your little tear out bit from here, and once you've stuck that down you can go and trim those little bits off if you like it neat across the top. But once you've inked it, it tends to blend in really well anyway. You don't actually notice that so much, and you've glued it down. So there's your middle piece. Then you've got a lovely piece left over here. You've got a tall piece each side, so you can actually work out from that where you would like your pattern that you have left. And it's all beautiful, so it doesn't really matter where you line it up from. It's going to be lovely anyway. So clearly that one is going to be that tall. So I'll try to get it straight. I won't guarantee perfection here, but it's going to be somewhere near it. And you remember too, you've got a little bit to take out of there. So come down, follow your line there, and you should be fairly close to it. It might be hard to... No, that's it. So you've got that little bit there. And then I just tear that white piece off the side, just to get rid of that. And you've got quite a wide piece to work with, so you can actually tear that off where your piece comes down quite easily. and if you want to come in a bit to rescue your picture, you can come in just a little bit. It's not too bad there. So there's my envelope there. So we need to take off probably about that much now. There, roughly. So there we've got another side. And we can take a little bit more off this side now, just so it folds really well. So there is your fold line. Okay, so we've got a piece for there now, a piece for the middle, and we need a piece for this side. So I'm going to find a piece that fits here roughly. Okay, so we want a piece that fits roughly there. So that gives you your right height, thereabouts. These papers are so pretty that you really don't want to cover them over. So you don't need to do a lot of decorating because it's all there already for you in such a lovely way. Okay, so we'll again take our little corner piece off. Oops, there. And then we've got our side, which is here. Which is about there, I think. No, windy bit there. And there. Yes. Pretty close to it. So then we've got all our pieces there. Now, I usually use the distress ink to go around the edges, and I've got milled lavender or Victorian velvet, depending on how dark you like it. I think I'll just go with a light one today, which is milled lavender, and I just ink up around all my edges. But if you like it darker, you can go with the Victorian velvet, which is a fraction darker. Just gives you a little bit more colour. So I hope everyone's managing to keep well occupied and busy and not too stressed with everything at the moment. That you're actually getting a little bit of downtime and trying to maintain some kind of normality in these strange times. It's an interesting time in history that we're going through right now. So I might speed up this inking bit because it does take a while and it's probably very boring to watch, so we'll just skip past that bit. I'll try and speed that bit up a bit. I just wanted to give you the main idea on how to build these up so that you can have the basics and use your own creativity to extend from that idea into something really pretty. Once you adapt your own style to things, it changes the look altogether of how you like to see things, different styles and different ways of doing things. Now, so they're all glued, they're all inked around, and they're all where they go. Now, for gluing this on, you can use a glue stick if you like, but I find glue sticks are very unreliable, so I tend to use my go-to art glitter glue, which dries very quickly. So if you are one of these people that like to move things around, you might want a glue that's a little bit more slippery, that doesn't dry as fast, and there's plenty of those around, so they're not hard to come by. So for this I just really just glue around the edges, mostly to make sure that your edges are down, fixed nice and securely. So I've got a little pile of papers under here. I should probably move those over there so you can actually see what I'm doing. Like I said, it's seat of the pants crafting today. Grab a moment while you've got one and go flat out. These moments are few and far between. When you're used to having an empty house and you suddenly have a full one, it kind of throws you all into chaos, doesn't it? But not to worry, it will all work out in the end. We just have to be resourceful and adjust to our situation. And if you grew up like I did with Play School's useful box, you can make just about anything work if you have to. Anything is possible. So I quite like that little shadow of pink showing through. It actually gives it a little bit of brightness, and that's where your fold is, so you don't want to make that area too hard to fold. If you layer it up and go right over it, which you can do, you will find it just a little bit harder. You may need to get your bone folder and just really burnish those edges so that it folds well, and it will bounce up if it's quite thick there, so you may need to take that into account if you're actually going to use a heavier cardstock or something on it. So that is your inside, and then I decorate these two outside pieces, which you'll see because they'll be folded that way. I mean, being bright pink, you can just use it as it is and decorate it as it is if you like, but I just like to add a little bit of prettiness to the outside as well. So you can find another sheet of your tear sheet if you like, or you can go for an alternative like I have chosen here with the different colours. So that you can have a little bit of an alternative to your main design, and that gives you just a change of colour, so you can make it stand out just that little bit more. So I shall go off and find something that will work with these papers, and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so just to recap a little bit, I have inked around my cards, which I just glued onto some cardstock and cut out, and inked around those with distress ink. And as I said before, you could use either the milled lavender or the Victorian velvet. I use the Victorian velvet on this one because it's a little bit darker, and they go just in the middle pocket. And in each side I've just used a scrap of cardstock that I had that fits on the inside, and for those I just make a little tab with my tab punch. Now there's a million and one ways you can make the tabs, so you probably already have that covered. And I just glue those on the top, so you've got, I'll just move that aside there so you can see, so you've got a little place to pull it out with. So I just glue both sides like that, and you have then a little pull, put it roughly in the middle, give it a press down so it stays. And I usually find in my little box of sayings something nice to go on there. Let's see, what have we got? About this one. Every flower is a soul blossoming in nature. Or what else is here? Between the shadows of the earth and the dark depths of the sky, human life lay slumbering with all its unsolved puzzles. So there's one for the other side, because you need one for each side of your envelope. So I'll just glue that one on too. You do that one at the same time then. You have those done. And I usually ink around these little sayings with a sage shadow, just a little bit of green ink, doesn't really matter. Or if you're doing a vintage one, you can use your vintage photo if you're using those sort of colours. Because this is a little bit more colourful, I use the green. Personal choice though, of course. So we'll put one on each of those. So you can cut that down a little bit if you like. I'll leave it thick though, because then you can add something to it if you want to. I want to write on it. Just get that out of the way over there. Now, so just glue that on. A little bit of glue, just making sure you get around the edge area well. Don't need a huge amount of glue. So that can go on there. And that just slides into your envelope here. And this one on the other side. I really hope I'm in the view there. So I really am flying by the seat of my pants because I can't see where it is. So you've got one in each side there, and your pretty cards in the middle. And you can, if you like, put something at the top. I sometimes like to put, and you could actually put another piece of your pretty paper in there. Actually, that does look quite pretty. We might just go with that. I'll just trim off that white piece. But you can put some words in there if you want to, or just decorate it with a piece of lace or something. So we may need a bit more distress ink around that edge. I just like to get that sort of white edge off it. You don't need a real lot unless you like the look of a lot of ink, but I just like to get rid of that white edge. So you can use your glue stick for that piece if you like, depending on what you've got available. If you haven't been crafting so crazily in the lockdown that you've got no glue left, then you might have to turn to the cornflour glue, so long as they haven't sold out of cornflour, which some of the supermarkets actually have. I wasn't able to buy cornflour this week, so somebody's doing something big with cornflour. So there you go. So that's your inside of your pocket. And these fold bits we now need to do. Now I have cut and coloured some scrappy bits that were just left over to fit on there, and I chose those because they matched well with the top section. So you may find too that if these are a bit too long and they don't fit right down the bottom, for some reason they don't, you may have to trim them up a bit so that your folds will fold when you go to fold your cards in, like this. So if your bits are sticking out the top, you may need to trim just a little off the bottom so they sit in well when it folds over. So these should just fit on here. Just grab my art glitter glue for that job, because I want them to hang on well around those edges. It's not so important the middle bit, but the edges are important because you don't want them lifting up on you, especially with bits that tend to flip up and get lots of wear. So I've got that piece there, fits on there nicely, and then this piece I've just inked around the edges of those as well to get that white off it. It's hard to decide which side to use because they were both pretty. So that was just a little bit of leftover cardstock I had that blended in with the digitals quite well. So I'll put that on there. It's just nice to have colours that sort of coordinate, and you can always print out extra bits of your digitals and put more on the front too if you like, but I tend to like to have a just a little change of colour. Okay, so I found my little piece here, and I have cut and trimmed the edges on that, so you should be able to work that out fairly easy. I just lay my piece of square card, say this, on the back like that, and roughly draw around it with a pencil and cut it out. You should end up with something like that, and then it should fit okay on there. So I've inked around that, and that's ready to go on, and it has green on the back, so I knew it would blend with these other colours from the same kit that had scraps left over. It was actually just a paper pack that I had. So that goes on there like that. Just squircle it a bit to fit. It's my word of the day, squircle. Squircle it to fit. There you have your flip lid like this one. So this envelope here is a slightly different shape. It has the rounder top on it, and this one has the triangle top. So you might find the triangle one's easier to fold in. So I'll just recap on the folding in so you know how that works. So you've got your envelope here, you've got your triangle bit there. Now that's going to be your middle, so you fold your sides into the point of your triangle, and that's where your middle will be. So that gives you that flap. And when you fold it out, you've got very easy lines to see where you're actually cutting your pieces away, which are those corners there. So just to recap, to make it simple for you to follow, it's not hard at all. You just need to cut each corner out. It's quite easy to see where you've folded it. So you've got a piece that looks like that. Very simple. And then it's just a matter of covering the areas of your envelope, and you can stick that down now on a journal page. Like you would just say this is your page, you just glue it down like that. You could have a pocket behind it again if you wanted to just glue around the edges, or you could make it a floating pocket and design something on the back as well and just clip it into your journal, onto your journal page. So look how pretty that looks as a page. And then you've only got to add something sweet to the top, such as I have done with this one. I've just added a little bit of curtain material on the bottom, a little bit of muslin on the top, some sari silk and a pretty button which I've stitched together to make that just a little snippet of odds and ends of fabric, and it just blends in so prettily with the roses. So I'll probably do the same thing with this one, but I might just go and do that now speedily so that I don't take up too much more time, and I might just finish this one off quickly too, and then at the end I can show you the three together. Okay, so I'll go off and do that now. Okay, so we're back with our three envelopes, and I'm just finishing off now the little trims and things. So I've collected up a little cluster of bits and pieces. I've got some muslin on the bottom, so I'll just glue that on here randomly so that hangs on a bit. Then I've got some lovely broderie and lace, just a little snippet. All you need is a little snippet, and this glue is very good for gluing fabric on, so I'm not worried that it won't hold. So I'll add that to the layer. Then I've got a little layer of lovely crocheted lace here, so I'll add that, add that to the cluster, and I think I'll just put that across the bottom of the broderie and lace like that. And then I've got a sweet little button, and I've tied some waxed thread through that so it can hang on, and it's actually printed with a sweet little rose and some flowers. It's a wooden button, I think, and I'm pretty sure they come from A Tattered Dream, those sweet little buttons. So that goes on, well, wherever you like really, wherever you like the look of it. So then you've got your little cluster. You might need to hold that for a while, and you might need to use a heavier glue for a big button, though that should hold okay. So that's two there done, and for this little one here, I thought because it was all bird related, I might actually put a feather on there. Okay, so I'm back with the finished product now. I've added a feather to this one on the end, so that goes along with the little bird theme. And I've added a sticker here, and I've sewn around all of the little cards so they have stitching all around them. And I've added a few stickers to the little sayings. Behind the clouds is the sun still shining. And this one says, each moment of the year has its own beauty. So they just tuck in there, the little cards in the middle all stitched on, and these ones I've done the same thing, just sewn around. You could actually sew around these too if you wanted to, stitch around them. That would look quite pretty. So there we have three little envelopes, which don't take that long at all. And the cards look really pretty when they're stitched around. You don't actually have to stitch around them, of course, but I just think it gives it that little extra piece of interest. And I've just added a little sticker on these to brighten them up a little bit. And you could do your own writing on the back or anything you like luck with those really. So that's those three, and I'm really sorry about the up close and personal shots because I didn't realise that it was zoomed in that far, so I hope that you can actually see everything clearly. And thank you for joining me today and coming along and watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.